Hello and welcome back. This is the Mini Town Bicycle Series video number 6. In the last video, we 3D printed some fixtures for a hose-on spoke threader and finished building the front wheel. Then ended things off with custom head tube caps for the low-cost frame jig. In this video, we're gonna mess around with some 3D printed phase blocks, a quick release nut, and get the top tube and down tube mitered and on the fixture. Let's get started. Alright, so I have here the nut to the head tube fixture. I'm going to attempt to make a quick release nut. I will cut this nut in half, and then I will weld it to this cheap little metal clip. And I'll do so just like this. And we'll see if that works. So I started to cut the other side. I cut this one side here, and then I started the other side and stopped myself and realized that I should weld this on here first before cutting this side. That way I know it's like perfectly aligned and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna now attempt to weld this on here. I've got a piece of leather in there to hold the clip kind of separated apart so they don't fuse together. Alright, so that didn't work. What happened was I started to weld, and as soon as the arc hit this corner, it began to melt the steel, and that compromise the integrity of this clip. So once I start welding this, it's basically going to just, this handle will just kind of like fall off. So that's not going to work. I mean, it might work if I really fiddle around with it, but I don't want to deal with that. So this is a stainless steel clip. You can get these pretty cheap, and I think I'm going to try to use this instead. I've got these bent just right, and this is a million times better, and it doesn't look too bad either. So All right, I'm gonna try to weld this. Of all the places for it to tighten, it had to tighten in the most inconvenient and ugly place possible. So I guess I could throw a washer in here to kind of fix that. I don't think this will get in the way of the top tube for tacking. But I mean, it would be nice if it tightened down when it reached this point. So we're just about getting ready to start mitering these tubes. I'll start with the down tube, and the first cut will be the cut for the bottom bracket shell. And then I have here marked as number 2, I'm going to cut the this little seat tube notch and get that all fitting nicely before I move on to the head tube. So the head tube will be the third cut. For the top tube, I've got this cut here as the first miter cut. The reason I can't do this cut first, well, I technically could, but I need this cut to measure from here to here so I know how to do this cut. So the first tube we'll cut is the down tube. And you'll notice I've marked here, be careful, and the reason is this is barely the correct length. I think it's gonna be all right, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this cut first, and I'm gonna get as close to the edge here as possible without taking off too much material, and then that will allow me more space up on the head tube end. So to do this work, I've got my trusty 1.25" hole saw, and that is the size. And I've got my Paragon Machine Works tube block, so the tube fits in here like so. And then to phase these, I've 3D printed these as you saw earlier, and these will fit on here. I've got these phase blocks, and they're made to fit right up against here. So this will go into the vise and it'll hold it at the angle I need. And my phase block will tell me, it'll just stay on the tube and it'll tell me where it needs to be, and also the correct rotation. it'll index that for me. This is meant to be used with the Paragon Machine Works block. It is not meant to be used to actually hold the work because it's just plastic. I got a little ahead of myself. I need to dial in the jig first. I usually do that before I start cutting any tubes. I have printed out on this paper the measurements for how to set up this jig. So I've got the distance from the bottom bracket center over to the bottom of the head tube. So that's the first measurement I'm going to make. So I think I'm gonna use this as a measuring point. So from here to here. So from this point, which is if you were to draw an imaginary line straight down to here, it would be right here. I need to come over 405.827, 405.8, 405. I've got all kinds of things in the way. Yeah, so this is in the way, which is pretty annoying. Aha, okay. 25, that's 50, 50, right between these 2 points. Now I gotta get the height. Yes, this should be easier. So we're gonna measure how high this is from here, the center. Looks like 90. So from here to here, we're looking at 90. So this is technically 0. So this 0 and then up. Really, the best thing is if at some point I put scales on this. That would make this whole thing way easier. Oh, I could also mark here. I could measure down, do a little math. And so from here to here, I measured where this needs to be in relation to here. It's 183 to get me the measurement that I need here. And that'll be easiest because what I'll do is I'll just mark it, give it a little mark. Get that good and tight because I don't want this to move. All right, so the next thing we'll set are the head tube angle and the C-tube angle. Make sure the table isn't wobbly. It's a little wobbly. Just make sure it's wobbling in the right direction when I do this, I guess. $73. There it is, right there. And now the C-tube, we are at 72. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a little tricky. 72. I might need to move this back. I'm not measuring for the rear dropouts yet because I want this column to be as close to the C-tube as possible while I'm doing the front triangle, and that'll give me more rigidity with this crazy thing. Yeah, this needs all the support it can get. So 72, we gotta move it back a little, maybe more than just a little, I guess. Yep. I don't know. No, the other way. All right, I'm calling it. It says 72.1. That's close enough. All right, I've got it all set up. What I usually do is one last check just to make sure. I'll do that off camera, but yep, here it is. We're all set. We're ready. Okay, that was pretty straightforward. That cut was the bottom bracket cut. And now we're gonna, before I take this off, I'm going to turn it like this. And so the bottom bracket goes this way. And I'm going to index 90 degrees. Okay, now I can take this off. The next cut I'll make is, so if I were to look at this drawing, the next cut is going to be right here, this cut. I have that listed as my next cut. Should I? Actually, I changed my mind. I'm gonna do this cut first. Yep. So I've got it marked right where the edge of the hole saw will cut through. I'm going to take this and mount it like this into the mill. So before I take this out, this is the part where I index the part using these phase blocks. So I'm going to throw this down on here. Oh, nuts. Okay, I'm going to need... Like a dummy, I couldn't fit this in here and it didn't occur to me to just do this. Oh god. Okay, so I'll take this off now. And the beauty of this setup is I can take this off, and if I realize I need to cut a little more off, I can then put this whole thing, back in and have an index here, and then I can use the table and just kind of scooch the table in a little and make another cut if I need to. Come on out. Okay, let's see here. This is the bottom bracket, top side. All right, so I'm gonna need to angle that out of the way for now. Let's go ahead and do that. Get out of the way. Okay. This is a little wider than an 1.25 inches. So it's as you can, you can't really see. I'm gonna get the camera in here so you can see it better. Okay, so you can see on the top there's a little space there, and it's kind of hard to see in the dark, but there's a little space on the bottom too. So yeah, that was a 1.25 inch hole saw, and I'm gonna need to file it. Okay, so I had this hole saw on there. It says 1.25 inches. This also says 1.25 inches, but I think this one's a tad larger. This is definitely smaller than 1.25 inches, because I measured that head tube and it is 1.25 inches, so that cut should have fit perfectly. I'm gonna get this on here, and we'll see if this widens it up a little. Okay, that should have us right back where we started. All right, that got us right where we need to be. Looks like that other hole saw is slightly smaller than the Starrett one. Okay, there's the top view. There's a tiny gap. It's so tiny. That'll be super easy to just give it a little brush file. Just a light touch. We'll take that out. And there's the bottom. Let's see if I can get in there. Oh no. Well, it's dark, but yeah, not much in the bottom either. Alright, I gave it a little file, and this mark right here is where the top of the tube should line up. So okay, so the next cut is right here. I should be able to angle this C-tube up, and it should be at the correct angle once I've got this notched at just the right place. It's almost 5 o'clock. It's pizza night. I gotta bake a pizza. See how far we can get. Uh-oh. Why are you giving me trouble? Alright, I don't think that's going anywhere. Okay, I'm going to be pretty conservative and leave quite a bit of space. Throw it on there, see how it looks, and then throw it back in here and cut more off. I'd rather do it that way than cut too much off and then there's no turning back after that. So this is the wrong hole saw. This is the head tube hole saw, not the C-tube hole saw. This is 1 1/8. This is 1 1/4. We'll take this out. I even have ST marked on here. I've done this before. See how far we can come up. Oh, that's right. These little things I need to, yeah, I'm gonna need to sand those off a little. All right. So when I move it up, and just when it gets to that point where it touches, you can see how much more I need to go. Not a whole lot more, but more. Okay, that gets us back to where we were. I'm gonna turn it in, gee, let's see. maybe 5 thou. I gotta go more, I think. Let's go 10. Something tells me that's not enough. Took about 5 tries, but after like the 5th, I got it pretty close. I think this is about, I mean, it can always be better, but this is pretty darn good, so. All right, it's time for the top tube. All right, so after a fair amount of filing, I got this thing to fit. There was a lot of back and forth, but now it fits there right where it should. All right, we're gonna have to stop here. We've got this all fixtured up. It is ready to be tacked. We will take care of that in the next video, and most likely get to the welding side of things. I'd be surprised if we didn't get to weld this whole thing in the next video, but seeing, you know, based on my track record, I won't hold myself to that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.